51. How many are we in this class? How many students? 80 or less or more? Anybody? Okay, who is the class rep?
Yeah, hello.
Hi, Komal. So you are the class representative?
Yeah,
And who else?
Parth, Athara, and Riddhi.
Okay, so what we'll also do is, you know, just to facilitate conversation, what tends to happen in these online classes is a question is asked and nobody responds. So if there is a general question, the CRs please make it a point to be the ones to respond. All right?
Yeah,
Hmm?
yeah,
Because I
yeah.
mean, it's the medium is a little alienating, so people tend to not know whether they should say it or somebody else will say it and all that. So you guys just take the initiative whenever there's a question which pertains to the whole class. Just turn your mics on and start talking.
Yeah.
Okay. Shall we start? There are 67 here, including the two of us, so that's 65. We're still. So how many students, Komal?
80.
80. All right, so we're still a few short. Meanwhile, what we've done is we've added the course brief to this channel. I don't know if you guys saw it. If you go to files, the files tab, you'll be able to see the course brief. So Komal, if you don't mind, can you share your screen and share the course brief on the
Uh,
screen?
yeah, actually, somebody has converted me to an. Okay, I'm a presenter now. I'll. Hussain, can you please make me a presenter?
You're not a presenter, one second.
No.
Why everybody is by default a presenter? Can't see you. Hmm. Mm, you are a presenter already. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
somebody
it's coming
just.
up. It's coming up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll just share the screen just a sec. Is the screen visible?
Yes, it's visible. Just zoom in a little.
Yeah. Sorry. Is it fine?
Yeah, just zoom in. Let's see the description and course outcome. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, so let's start. There's still about 15 people short. So no, maybe 25. No, wait, 63. So I think there are about 20 of you missing. All right. So welcome to the sixth semester of humanities. Now, this semester is going to have, unfortunately for all of us, it's going to have a university written paper at the end of the year. Mm, don't ask me why that's the case, because I have no idea. Um, so that university paper, the difference between that paper and the papers that we generally set here is that that paper is set centrally, and even we don't know what they're going to ask. But there is a pattern to it, so we have an idea as to what kind of questions come in and all of that. But all of that thing about the university paper, we will deal with that towards the end of the semester. Right now, we don't have to worry about it. Um, Many of the questions that will be asked will be discussed and covered through this course, but we'll have to do a little bit of prep for the exam, which we'll do towards the end of the semester. So don't worry about that at all. The fifth semester, the one that Shima and Sarah conducted, was you were introduced to conflict theory, social conflict theory, and I mean, I spoke to the faculty and they said that they did. That you did some readings, you discussed some literature and all that. So that's a good kind of background for what we're going to do in this semester. The way in which we have structured this course, or we have been doing it for the past few years, is that the sixth semester humanities course is called Social History of Mumbai. So what I mean, we do history generally. We when we study history, we study, and especially if you're doing urban history, you will be, looking at the the who built a particular building, who financed it, when was it built, why was it built. Those are the kinds of questions that one asks when one is doing a history of architecture or history of the city. A social history is different. A social history is a method of doing history where one asks what were the social processes that were involved or that formed the kind of backdrop for the production of space in the city. Since you studied conflict theory in the last semester, you also know that social processes are processes that are always in tension. There is always a certain kind of contestation and conflict between different varied social actors. And those conflicts are not just conflicts in the sense of they are not just destructive, but they are also constructive. Often things come out of this tension between various social actors that is that have tangible manifestations that we see around us, right? So I mean, if you were to look at the history of, let's say, the Back Bay in Mumbai, you would probably, a standard account will tell you that, in this year, the land reclamation began, and then the land reclamation didn't happen for whatever reason. And then you'll also probably learn about the fact that the MMRDA later became the planning authority. And those are, I mean, standard kind of factual narratives about things that you see around you, right? But if you do a social history, you will probably, we will think about or talk about how the Back Bay reclamation is actually a very long history of intense contestation about how that place has to change and evolve and develop and so on. So, for instance, you must have heard of Khurshid Nariman, who was an important actor in opposing the Back Bay reclamation scheme.
Hussein, you are muted.
Since when was I muted? Did all of what I just say happen in my own
No,
head?
no.
Okay.
Last two sentences.
Okay, so yeah, if anybody is trying to mute me, please don't do that. Okay, so so you must have heard of Khurshid Nariman, and we remember him today because Nariman Point is named after him. But he was the person who was involved in opposing or challenging the Back Bay reclamation scheme when it was proposed, and he kind of exposed this the huge corruption that was taking place, and because of that expose, there was a commission that was set up, and the Back Bay reclamation was stalled, and all of that. So there's a kind of a social history of the places that you go to and visit today. So when you go to Nariman Point next time, probably this story will help you appreciate how the place has become what it is today, right? So a social history method is where you look at the social processes that led to the emergence of things around you, right? Because space, physical space that we, as designers, we like to design space and we think we are the creators of that space, and it is all a kind of a moment of creative euphoria, and you come up with an idea and then it gets manifested. That's how design is taught in schools. But if you think about it carefully from a sociological perspective, you'll realize that design is one element of the whole, the entire range of events that take place in the construction of the physical environment. So we are going to step back from our role as creators, and we are going to look at the social processes that lead to creation. Okay, so that is going to be the general approach. Now, if you scroll down a little, Komal, if you don't mind, the learning outcomes of this course are going to be that you are going to be introduced to the social transformation of the city. From a social history perspective, we will try and understand the various geographical, administrative units of the city. So what is generally called governance, the governance framework of the city. So you have the island city, the municipal extent of Greater Mumbai, the MMR region. Then there are other spatial units where the various kinds of wards, and then so on, and how different kinds of administrative authorities conceive of the city spatially and territorially. So MMR is one such, because it's the Mumbai metropolitan region, and it has a specific kind of geography and territory and so on. We are going to very loosely think of that as the unit for our study. We will look at the overview of the city's physical and demographic growth, economic and social geography, and institutional and administrative structure, and the various kinds of plans and development policies and so on, which have, in a way, affected the way the city has grown and evolved. Then we'll also be undertaking a critical overview of the processes of these terms that we generally hear all the time, very loosely used and often ill understood, things like urbanization, migration, industrialization, and what really those concepts mean, what they mean generally, what they mean in terms of our own city, and so on. So if you scroll down, Komal, just skip this course format. I'll talk about that at the end. We'll just look at the course plan. So what we have done for this course is that we have actually, Komal, if you can zoom out and get the entire course plan on the screen. Yeah, zoom in so that you just see all the 13 sessions. Okay. So this is week 1 introduction. And we're going to have another 12 classes, which is each of which will introduce a different aspect of the city, some episode or some element of infrastructure or some physical object in the city, and look, using that as a reference point, we're going to look at the history of some aspect of the city. For example, one of the sessions is going to be about sewers. When we look at infrastructure in the city, we generally tend to think it's something technological. It's a physical system which is built by the state to ensure that all the waste in the city is thrown out of the city and so on. And we think about it somehow also being designers and technical experts. We tend to think about it as an engineering problem, right? But if you look at the history of sewers in the city, it's extremely fraught, contested, and often violent history of disputes, struggles over justice, over opposition to various forms of exploitation, of segregation, of stratification in the city. And so when you look at the history of sewers in the city, we are not going to look at a map of the sewer lines in Bombay and say that, all right, these are the areas that have well served, these are the areas that are less served. We are going to look at why is it that certain areas get better served and certain areas don't. We look at why is it that the waste treatment plants in the city are located in certain places and not other places. We look at who are the people who are involved in the in that entire system of working with waste and converting it and transforming it into something that is disposed from the city and so on, right? So every aspect that we look at in this list of that is mentioned here, we are going to use that as an opportunity for us to delve deeper into the social history of the city. And I don't want to introduce everything right now, but basically just to give you an idea of what we are going to look at. Okay. And if you scroll down further, Komal, you'll find quite an extensive reading list. Now, this reading list, the way we do it is probably this is how you do it. Did this in the last semester as well. Obviously, I don't think you will have the time to read all of these essays, each student. And therefore, what we'll be doing is we'll be sharing the burden of reading. And the way that happens is we either make pairs or groups of 3, and each group is assigned reading. And the people who are doing the reading are then expected to present it thematically. So under each of those 13 themes that you see, there will be groups. These readings will be grouped. So for each session, we'll have maybe 2 or 3 groups making presentations of their readings. And then there will be a general discussion about that theme, those readings, those arguments that are being made by the various authors that you're reading and so on. And through this structure and this process, what will happen is each of you will read maybe 1 or 2 essays, and because you present it to your students and we have a discussion with it, at least you know what the other essays are talking about. And so while we hope that you read all of them eventually at some point in your lives, but at least now you will know the ideas that are discussed in all of these various essays. Yeah, so that is broadly what we are planning to do. Today's class was merely saying hi and introducing the course structure to you. And we'll start next week. We'll make a presentation. Next week will be a lecture. You don't have to prepare any reading for next week. It'll be a lecture where we'll do a kind of a general overview of the history of Mumbai. And to give you certain kinds of like a certain map of the city, not just a visual map, but also a conceptual map of what this course is going to be about. And then before next week, we'll also be making the teams and assigning the readings. So you'll have a week to start reading and preparing your presentations. It will be turns, so you'll probably make 1 or at the most 2 presentations during the semester. I think it's going to be just 1. We don't have time for 2 presentations. So you'll be reading 1 essay and making 1 presentation during these 13 weeks. But that presentation may happen the week after next, or it may happen in April sometime, So be prepared that your turn will come, and when your turn comes, please be ready with your presentations. All right, and the presentations that you make will also be what will be used to give your internal sessional marks. So we won't be giving you an additional assignment. So this reading and the presentation is your assignment, and basically that will make your workload lighter outside the class. And as I said, when it comes to the discussion about the exams and everything, that we'll do towards the end of the semester. Okay, so that's it. That's all I have to say. Any questions, concerns, observations, comments, fears, anxieties, dreams, desires? Anyone? Nobody? Shweta, did I miss something?
No, I think you've covered everything. Basically, I'd just like to add that the presentations, they have to be a summary of the main argument of the essay. So it's important that it's not you don't have to tell us all the facts and all the details or the data and go into the details. The idea is the a kind of a summary of the argument. So I think it'll be good if you'll make a kind of a one-page kind of a summary with the key points or the key argument that the authors are making, because otherwise it tends to get very descriptive. It becomes very long. The rest of the class will also get bored if you're not actually reading out the essay or just reproducing the details of the essay the way they are. So I think that's not the idea. That's not the intention. The idea is to understand, analyze, and then be able to present it very succinctly or very, in short. So I think it's also about, I think the exercise will also be good in the sense that it's the reason why we're asking you to read these essays yourselves and be able to articulate it yourselves is so that because it would have been possible to present it in different formats, right? We could have done the reading together. We could have also done it in a lecture format where, some of those concepts could have been discussed. But the idea is also to get you all to read and to be able to understand how to extract the key argument. You all may have to read, you all may read the entire essay once, but you all may have to reread the introduction and the summary. You all will also have to understand the context or the background in which that essay was written, or what were the aspects that it was addressing. So I think those are those learnings are critical, and which is why I think this reading is important. And but it's important that you'll do it correctly. Otherwise, because what we've experienced in the past is people just not preparing in advance and coming to class and then trying to give us the whole description of the essay by actually reading out parts of it, and that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no, so the important point that Shweta is making is that reading and theory is not something that one listens to, okay, or talks. It is something that you have to do. You have to engage with. You have to work. It's something that requires engagement, intellectual engagement, right? So generally in our theory courses, we are used to thinking that theory courses means that we have to go and sit and listen to somebody's lecture, and then we go and do our own theory, which is lecturing others, right? But the point really is that to think conceptually and to think systematically about something requires a great amount of effort, which is the first step is to read, but to read not just like you read a novel, but to read with engagement, to go back and forth, to break ideas down, to have your own critical or critical response to it while you're reading, make notes, make summaries, elaborate, read other things to put this reading into context. All of those skills, it's a skill like any other, like making something. So skills of theory are also, it's also like a craft. It's not simply about, having the ability to speak in eloquent ways. It is about the ability to be able to think systematically and to be able to succinctly communicate what you have understood. It's about understanding, not about speaking or writing merely. So, which is why we want you to read and not just listen to lectures that we're going to give you. There will be a few lectures. The next class is going to be a lecture, but a large part of the course will be about reading and discussing what you have read. Okay. Any questions now? No one? Mohit, you want to say something? Hello, Mohit, we can't hear you. Okay. So if there's nobody wanting to say anything, should we end? Unless somebody wants to get some clarifications or has some doubts. CRs, any general concerns?
No.
No.
No? All right. So let's sign out then. Let's close this meeting and we'll meet next week with the lecture. Okay. So have a great day. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hmm.